Wow, that goes in really deep, doesn't it? Hi. Don't mind that. How are you? We're gonna ignore that. I'm here to talk to you tonight about mind reading. Fashiz, my niz, and nizettes, that's the subject tonight, as if to imply we've actually got nightly subjects. I'm sorry, it's feast or famine with me. You get some, then you don't get some, you get a bunch, you get nothing. Deal with it. I don't know what's wrong with me. At any rate, for real, we are going to talk about so many things, and it's going to be a long one, I think. So, you may want to make yourself some popcorn, because we are going to cover so many things. We're going to cover mind reading, obviously, since that was the subject matter. We're going to talk about concepts of God. We're going to talk about psychosis. We're going to talk about criminals. We're going to talk about dogs. We're going to talk about George Orwell. We're going to talk about the end of the world as we know it. So, yeah. Sit down and enjoy yourself. Or don't. This could go many ways. So let's get started. Many of you don't know, because many of you don't know me on a personal level. I'm tremendously fascinated with psychology, neurology, the human brain, and I am so fascinated by recent developments, which I'm sure most of you are probably aware of. If you're not, Google, if you care. If you don't care, whatever. But there have been astonishing advancements in the world of fMRI. And fMRIs are functional magnetic resonance imaging. Almost stumble over those. Almost. Didn't. But what fMRIs do is they basically map out the brain while it's thinking. It's a non-radioactive, completely safe, sort of thing to engage in. I really want to someday. Any scientist watching, I will volunteer to be a lab rat. Because this is fascinating. The fMRI is able to localize your thoughts. It follows basically the oxygenation levels in the blood flow during neurological transmissions, and it's literally able to light up the areas of your brain while you're thinking. So if you're thinking, I should light this candle that has a tack in it. If you're thinking that while in the MRI machine, the MRI is going to follow where that thought begins, and that thought's going to start with, you have to identify, well, what is a candle? How would you light one? What does light mean? It's all these different things that come together to make one thought. And it is able to follow the different areas of the brain that do that. Okay? You with me? You with me? Good! If you're not, don't worry. Pause, rewind, and come back. But the advancements, this technology's been around for a very long time, but the advancement is they're getting better at it, and they're getting to a level where they can actually legitimately, like UC Berkeley just recently publicized their findings on this experiment, and this experiment's been going on in Japan as well, where they're actually able to see the images that you are seeing in your head, not on a really deep scale. It's not like on a full-blown, high-def picture level. I love my hand, that's why I looked at it for so long. But basically the person in the MRI machine is shown an image, and by, keep covering up the light, Patty, by tracing the visual receptors in the brain, and taking the data and putting it into a computer program, what they come up with is a very blurry, very kind of screwy image, full-blown image of the original image. It's what the brain sees. This is astonishing. And even skipping that part, which, that part is incredible and terrifying, but we'll get to the terrifying part later. I mean, think about what we could do with dreams. You know, I'm an incredibly vivid dreamer. Unfortunately, I also have nightmares constantly. So it would be very fascinating to be able to record the things I see and the things anyone else sees, and be able to analyze it going, okay, that's what happened, so let's break it apart. And for the people who don't remember their dreams, this would all be incredible for that. Just on a purely hobby level, on a nihilistic, self-involved level, there's that. That's cool. But let's get back to the really deep, important stuff. Like, think about what this could mean for people with autism. Though we have come a very long way in, you know, identifying autism and people who have different cognitive faculties, we could finally get to a point where we can follow the thought of someone with autism and see what they're trying to say to better communicate with them so that we didn't fail so much. Because, you know, anyone who wants to say the people who are autistic, or not autistic, but disabled because they're autistic, you are so wrong. Period. That's not a discussion. They're not disabled. They just think differently. And how fascinating and how wonderful would it be to be able to legitimately see their thought and better understand them so that they could be freer, we could be freer, it would be better. And currently, actually, this technology, this fMRI business, because everybody is studying this shit. This is heavy-duty stuff right now. This is it. This is the it thing. I don't know why I'm snapping, and I don't know why I keep saying it, so I'm gonna stop. But in Berlin, this study right now is being used, or this subject is being used to study people who are in a vegetative state. It's being used currently, I mean, they've already done the experiments, to more clearly identify who is truly in a vegetative state. And by that, I mean, those are the people who cannot, in any way, shape, or form, they do not respond to any external stimuli. They do not hear you, they do not see you, they have no idea you're there. Versus the people who are perceived to be in a vegetative state, but who are completely and 100% aware that you're there, only suffering from some tremendous physical paralysis where they can't tell you that they hear you. This, you know, availability to be able to actually see that their brains are completely right there. They're responding. I pulled my hair. Ow. They're responding. So this is going a huge, it's not going a huge direction. That doesn't actually make sense. But this is going in an incredible direction as far as the eternal ethical conversation of who do we unplug? I mean, the argument as to whether or not we should ever unplug somebody is for another day. But this helps make that murky, gray cesspool of a decision a little bit easier, because you can actually identify who's still there. Purely on this level. We're not going to talk about souls, we're not going to talk about that. But, so we've got autism, we've got vegetative state, Alzheimer's patients. It would be so incredible, in pretty much the exact same boat as autism, to be able to map where their brains are going. And stroke victims, I mean, people who've suffered tremendous trauma, anyone whose brains just somehow go differently to a point where they can't communicate with us the way we communicate with each other. And by us, I mean, pardon me, those of us who are fortunate enough to not have suffered some trauma, or those of us who have not been born with any notable differences. Those of us who, more or less, are normal. Whatever that means. There's no such thing as normal. We'll get into that some other time. I'm turning into a man. So we've got those things. Stanford University is their subject for right now is teenage depression. They're using this advancement to legitimately study when and how depression starts, and to train, to teach people how to legitimately and 100% train their brain to go in different places. And I will actually, all of the links to any of my resource material, as if I'm some highfalutin journalist, anything that I've read up on or any videos that I thought were particularly helpful on this subject, I will post in my chest region in the description bar. So check it out, please, because this is all fascinating. But Stanford is, working on teen depression. It's absolutely amazing, and that's just on a medical level. This is purely medicine. Criminal justice world, though, could benefit from this greatly, because if I go out and kill your grandma, and all the evidence points to Ted here. Come here, Ted. If all the evidence points to Ted, but I did it, we're probably about 5 years away from being able to clearly identify memories, not in a visual sense necessarily. We're probably about 20 years away from being able to go in and see. Like in Batman Forever, I know, I'm sorry. But in Batman Forever, when Edward Nygma put the blenders on the head that had the little fan belts and suddenly projected, what you wanted to see. Same thing, in essence. Hopefully just not as tacky. But at any rate, in probably the next 20 years or so, if I murdered your grandma and it looks like Ted did it, we could be able to go in my head and watch me remember killing your grandma. I'm sorry, I would never kill your grandma. Your grandma's a wonderful person. She could clip her toenails once in a while. And if she can't, you could help her, but, whatever. But, a lot of ums in this. But at any rate, this could be used to keep truly innocent people out of jail and away from death sentences. It could be used to cut so many costs in the criminal justice world by more, quickly getting the guilty parties in and processed and done. But that then poses a question, because right now, at least in the States, I do not in any way, shape, or form have enough of an understanding on judicial processes in other countries. Forgive me. But here in the States, anyway, you can get a court order where you have to donate a DNA sample. A hair, seminal fluids, blood, spit, urine, whatever they need to pin you onto that scene or to completely exclude you from the crime scene. They tell you, you do it. However, you do not have to give willful incrimination. You do, that's the no comment. That's the Fifth Amendment. You do not have to incriminate yourself. So this comes to a level of, if this is available for criminal justice, where would it fall under? Would going into somebody's brain be classified as within the same categories as a court-ordered DNA sample being something you can't refuse? Or would it be considered willful incrimination? And how easy would it be to manipulate that? And how reliable would it be? Eyewitness testimony is the most unreliable form of evidence out there. It truly is. So would this even help? Really and truly? And then that brings us to the scarier question. Who would get access to this? Do we really want people in our brains? Do we really want people to see what's going on in there? Doesn't matter what it is. We can't always control our thoughts. Most of us aren't actually ka-kunk, 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 ka-kunk. When we think, it's linear. It's just a string. Much the way my conversation is, coming out. Sorry about that. So, do we really want people seeing that? And should anyone really have the right to go into our minds, be it on a medical level or criminal justice level? And where does it go from there? Is it stored on file? Is it given to you so you can do whatever you want with it? This particular question has got conspiracy theorists creaming their jeans, and they've been doing it for a while now, and they're not entirely wrong. This does sort of sound like the prologue to an Orwellian future. Where does this lead to? I mean, Big Brother is already up our ass on our Facebook, watching where we go on the internet, telling us what to eat, finding us for throwing away a candy wrapper on the ground that we didn't even know they saw us throw on the ground. They're in everything we do. And then you add this to the mound of things they have access to. For the most part, it's believed that the human brain is, or the mind rather, not even the brain. The brain is a physical thing, but the mind, what the mind actually is the last bastion of freedom that we all possess. It's the last place anyone can get, where no one can get us. It's the last thing that we have, just to ourselves. And this technology being available opens the door for a world of evil. Now, before anyone gets really spazzy and scared, try to remember the fact that nothing happens like that. Every single thing in this world, in this life, in this existence that we're aware of at this point is cause and effect. Even something as simple as lighting a match. This doesn't just happen. This is a series of chemical combinations and molecular changes, one after another. So just because, and I say that just because the technology is available does not necessarily imply that in 5 years people are going to be up in our business and we're not going to have any personal freedoms left. It's not going to happen overnight, if it happens at all. For the most part, I hope, this is going to be something that will be handled by thousands and millions of people who will get choices in this and who will stand in its way, who will argue, who will be in favor of funding. I mean, every single thing that is required to make something happen in our society, not even on the technological level, just the society end of it, all of the bad things would need to fall into place in order to make this epic holy crap badness a reality. So, don't worry, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be thrown in jail for a crime you haven't committed yet just because you had a flippant thought in a dream about killing the president. It's not going to happen. Okay? If it happens 50 years from now, then a series of events, really bad ones, came to play, and it's a safe bet we had a choice in it. But then again, if you watch what's been going on with politics lately, but no, I sincerely 100% don't want anyone to listen to this and go, oh, holy shit, the world is gonna end tomorrow. But there are two sides to this. On one level, there's a huge and tremendous, tremendous isn't even the word. The original meaning of the word awesome, that is still not enough. That doesn't do it justice to the potential of this advancement. And I know I keep using that word. It's annoying. It's the only word I can come up with. I'm sorry. But the potential for us and for our future and for our society and for our sick and for understanding each other. Hell, why does it have to stop with humans? It doesn't. The family dog. Animals raised in captivity versus animals in the wild that are, caught for research purposes. It may sound far-fetched, but think about it. If we could map our own thoughts and we can start mapping animal thoughts, I'm sure they've already done it. 90% of the time, if they've tested something on humans, it's been tested on animal first. Got thoughts about that, but we're moving on. I would be fascinated to hear what my dog has to say. Not from just I want to know what he dreams about, or I want to know what he actually thinks when he sees a bunny. Not on that level, but to get a better understanding of how far away we are from our animal brethren. Do they have a concept of God? Do they need to not necessitate, but validate? Do they need to validate their existence by answering questions of why are we here? How did we get here? Do animals have this concept? Or is it purely survival? And domesticated versus wild, are they, obviously they'd be different, but to what extent? You can't see my hand. But even on levels like that. And then back to the dreams. And then back to the dreams comes back to, do we really honestly want anyone to see what we think of? As I mentioned, I have horrific nightmares. And I'm sure many of you have, and many of you have probably had amazing dreams. And I'm pretty sure almost all of us have, at least at one point in our lives, had a dream where we woke up and really questioned ourselves as a person. Something that rattled us, and we went, why on earth would I dream that? That was horrible. Or, magnificent, or whatever it may be. Do we really want other people to see that? And do we ourselves really want to be faced with that? It seems kind of like this would fall into a category of be careful what you wish for. But yeah, what do you guys think? Obviously, I'm dorking out about this, and it's pretty clear that I'm a lot more on the potential good side than the, Big Brother's gonna give you a rim job side. But, I try to live life with my eyes open, my ears to the wind, and my head down. I'm not completely naive to the perspective of that the bad can't happen, but I do think that the potential is too great to ignore it and just cast it aside. But what do you think? I genuinely would like to hear what you guys have to say. If you care at all. If you've watched this at all. If you give the slightest of shits. Or if you're fascinated by it. I don't care. I would really like to know. What do you think? Is this only going to lead to complicated ethical questions that are going to be just a tremendous headache and never have answers to? Or is this going to be something really fantastic? Sorry about that. Memory card went... So, if you've made it this far, congratulations. I'm sure I bored you to tears, at least twice. But your reward, or punishment, depends on your perspective, is jokes! I got brain jokes! Neurology jokes! Awesome! I like them. Back off. So, yeah. Alright. First one. What did the film director say when he was finished making a movie about myelin? That's a wrap! Ha! Get it? Because it's the coding. Moving on. What's a good pickup line an axon terminal uses on a dendrite? Let's connect. Sorry, that was creepy. What happens when a neurotransmitter falls in love with a receptor? A binding relationship. What dinner dish does a developing neuron use? A neural plate. Duh. And my favorite, this is now one of my favorite jokes ever. What is a sleeping brain's favorite band? REM. Ha! REM! REM, rapid eye movement. Okay. I'm gonna go now. But before I do, spinny, 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 touchy, touchy, touchy. In fact, I'm gonna turn off the light and show you because you probably can't see it much. Where'd I go? Touchy, touchy, touchy. Spinny! I don't know why I'm talking like that, but this is my form of entertainment, so back off! And I love you all, and thank you for watching, and check you later. Should probably have turned the light on when I did that. Ugh. Live and learn. Bye!